So there are 2 days in your life that matter, said Mark Twain. The day that you were born and the day you find out why. Now, I'm not trying to dispute one of the great American writers, but I disagree. I like to think that it's something of progressive revelation, that there aren't just 2 days throughout your life, but that there are many when this can reveal itself. And for me, that first one didn't come actually when I was born. It came before I was born. It came when my mom was pregnant with me. She read a book called Diet for a Poisoned Planet. And in one day, she completely transformed the house. My dad went to work, he's a teacher, and by the time he got home, the entire house was what I like to call organicized. Packaged food was out, organic food was in. Plastic was out, metal and glass were in. She literally set up to clean the home with lemon and vinegar. That was the world into which I was born. And I grew up thinking that was normal. It was this delightfully warped but never weird upbringing here in Marin County. And in 2002, a study came out that Marin had the highest breast, prostate, and melanoma cancer rates on Earth. And no one knew why, and there wasn't enough money to do the testing. So day 2 in this progressive revelation. You want to say what date that was? November 2002. My mother, that woman right there, organized a door-to-door campaign where thousands of volunteers went to tens of thousands of households on one day to ask a very simple question. Why? Why were the cancer rates off the charts? And nothing correlated. It wasn't demographics, it wasn't water, it wasn't a plane that crashed on Mount Tamalpais. We started to think about toxicity, exposure, body burden. There was a study that came out in 2004 linking the ingredients in personal care products to cancer, birth defects, and reproductive harm. Who used soap today? Okay. Hygiene, guys, let's go. What about shampoo in the last 2 days? Toothpaste. Okay, I'm preaching to the choir, but this is stuff that you and I, all genders, all ages, all backgrounds, use pretty much on a daily basis, linked to cancer, linked to disease, linked to autism, linked to neurotoxicity. That didn't make sense in my 13-year-old head. What do you mean no one's looking out for our health and well-being? What do you mean there's no government oversight? What can we do? So that takes us to the next day. January 9th, 2005. It was the first meeting of what was then called Safe Cosmetics 101. It would become Teens for Safe Cosmetics, which would become Teens Turning Green, which would become the nonprofit that you all now know very well as Turning Green. Over 12 and a half years ago. It started with one meeting of a bunch of ragtag kids coming together 2 exits up from here on the freeway. And we went through and we built campaigns around waste, around public health, around fashion, around food. And I went to a conference, February 7th, 2010. And 2 kids were sitting there with me and they asked me what I did. And one of them had just finished telling me about the work that he was doing in sub-Saharan Africa with former child soldiers. And the other was talking about the most rampant poverty I had ever heard of on a South Pacific island nation. And they asked me what I did. I said, environmentalist? They said, what? I said, I'm an environmentalist. I suddenly felt so ashamed. How could I, someone who's grown up benefiting from white privilege, someone who had access to scholarships to go to extraordinary schools, tell people what to drink their water out of, what food to eat, what to put in their homes or their schools or their offices, when people don't have water, food, shelter, education, or jobs? How entitled was I? And they said, hold on, what does this mean? What does it mean that you're an environmentalist? I started talking to them about the campaigns that we run with high school and college students. They said, wait a second, that's really relevant to the kids in my community. Hold on, we need that. We're dealing with that same issue and don't have a solution nor a way for young people to get involved. And through that conversation on that bus that one night, and many to follow, I came to see that environmentalism knows no bounds of race, of socioeconomic status, of geography, of faith, that issues of conservation, of degradation, of water, of health epidemics affect us all. We rise and we fall together. MLK, we're tied together in the common fabric of destiny, and that could not be more true than with the one planet we all share. January 12th, 2010, what happened that day? Go back, you were alive. January 12th. What year in school were you? 2010. Okay, so you had some knowledge. Other people who were well out of school at that time, what happened? January 12th, 2010. The earthquake hit Haiti. I was a freshman in college. I was sitting in my dorm room, looking at my laptop, watching images roll in of Port-au-Prince and rubble. Now, I'm not proud to say this, but probably on January 11th, I couldn't have put Haiti on a map. I knew it was somewhere in the Caribbean. I had no connection. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know what language they spoke. But something inside me snapped, and I said, I have to go. So I pulled the suitcase out from under my bed in my dorm room, and I started packing. And my college roommate tells the story far better than I, but I filled my suitcase, and I picked up the phone, and I called my mother. I said, hey, Mama, I just want to let you know I'm going to Haiti. And she said, I was expecting this call. I went, what? And she said, I don't think it's wise, but you're 18 years old, you can make your own decisions. So I kept packing, and then my phone started to ring. And she told a couple of her friends about this idea that her 18-year-old daughter had to go to a country that is one of the poorest in the Western Hemisphere after one of the worst natural disasters in modern history, untrained and with really no destination and no contacts on the ground. And they said, Erin, you're gonna get kidnapped. I said, click. Erin, you're gonna get raped. Click. Erin, you're gonna get killed. No, fear wasn't going to enter in this equation. Then someone called up, a friend of ours who's a journalist. He said, listen, Erin, I had the same instincts that you had. But any food you eat is their food. Any water you drink is someone who really needs it. And any shelter you occupy means that someone will sleep without a roof over their head tonight. God forbid should something happen to you. You will be the first one on the operating table. You will be medevaced out, and you will be on the cover of the New York Times. So I called up JetBlue and I canceled that ticket. Now, you don't know this, but I didn't have any nefarious intentions. I was going because I wanted to help. But I didn't understand the landscape on the ground. I didn't understand what help meant, what service meant in such a context. And me going at that time would have proved a burden on other people and all of these systems. So I waited 3 weeks. 3.5 weeks, I found an organization that would take me, and I went down. Because guess what? We do all have skill sets that are valuable. And mine wasn't life-saving medical skills. It wasn't equipment that could move massive rubble, but it was systems thinking. It was logistics. And a few weeks after, they needed that. So I'm going to fast forward a couple years. December 3rd, 2014. Anybody here lived in New York City at that time? Does anyone want to take a shot? What happened December 3rd, 2014? So yeah, you're about a year off too. You guys are living a little bit in the future, yeah. A verdict came out that the officer who strangled Eric Garner to death on the streets of Staten Island would not be indicted. You guys remember that? I can't breathe, chokehold, man selling loose cigarettes outside a convenience store. So for the first time in my life, I took to the streets. For the first time in my life, I went to a massive rally, protest, march, whatever you said. And I told some of my friends, I said, you guys, this is what I'm doing tonight. They said, if you want to get a drink, let me know. Someone said, why are you doing this, Erin? You're an environmentalist. I said, excuse me? Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. MLK again. And this wasn't just anywhere, this was the city that I was then calling home, the city in which I lived. In my backyard, black and brown men were getting gunned down and arrested at rates off the charts compared to their white counterparts. So you want to layer an environmental filter over it? Fine. Who are the communities feeling the brunt of the environmental injustice in this country and around the world? Black and brown communities. So I went, took to the streets for the first time. It changed my whole idea of what it meant to be an ally, what it meant to be an accomplice, what it meant to lay your body on the line when it's called for. February 22nd, 2016. None of you will have any idea what happened. I won't even challenge you. I gave a speech at Sweetwater, just down the road in Mill Valley, about the impact of place. Who here feels like they were shaped by where they grew up? How many times I mentioned Marin County, right? I'm from here, born and bred. And I talked about the impact of this place on my life, on my values, on my professional path. And I walked off stage and people said, "How do we get you to run for office?" I said, no. I don't fit the mold of what I think of as a politician. I was 24 years old. I'm a woman. I've never held prior elected office. I haven't spent decades in corporate boardrooms or law offices or the halls of government. I could rattle off a million reasons right here, right now, why I should not run for political office. And people said, that's exactly why you need to run. So I spent the next couple of weeks making a decision to embark pretty much on the most unreasonable journey I could have imagined at that point in my life. But I had to lay out metrics of success that went above and beyond winning at the ballot box. What did success mean? What does success look like when you guys set out on journeys? For me, it was about redefining civic engagement, about reinvigorating a culture of public service, and expanding the definition of who can be a politician while adding value to society, while going through that process. It was the most exhilarating, exhausting 70 days of my life, and we came up 6.6 points short of advancing, because everybody wants to know that in the primary. But for me, it's always been about purpose, not position. You've heard these circuitous journeys. For me, I can pinpoint about a dozen dates in my life where my path has fundamentally changed. Sometimes it was because of an event that happened literally a world away. Sometimes it was because of something that I said that someone reflected back on me. Sometimes it's because of something that a loved one or a family member does that sets you on a path out of your control. Sometimes it's a quote you read. Sometimes it's a circumstance in which you find yourself living geographically that you never could have imagined. The world is putting out ample opportunity for you. The world is calling all of us to act every day. But are you listening? Are you aware? Are you willing to say yes? There are 3 questions that I ask myself before I make any decision. Where can I be most impactful? What am I most passionate about? And what best sets me up for a lifetime of service? There's a lot of crossroads. There's a lot of time ahead. And if you answer those questions and you know why you're doing what you're doing, you're focused on that purpose over position, be that one who dares to do, who dares to dream. The most talented, capable people I know changing the world through disruptive startup models, leveraging technology, taking media to new heights, delving into the depths of research and science, using politics in ways we've never seen. What's your calling? What's your passion? Go out there and dare to do what so few do. Apathy is the largest issue plaguing our world today. But I feel better knowing that you guys are embracing the role of citizen activists and saying yes to the opportunities that life presents you with. Thank you. I am so inspired by all of you.